two things, but mainly first of all, happy or press freedom day. And the matter I'm addressing actually relates to the question of media freedom, press freedom in the country. The two incidents that have occurred in the past week regarding suspected PF members storming radio stations, Power FM in Kabul and Radio Maria in Chipata, are totally unacceptable. State House finds the behavior very, very abhorrent and a clear departure from the manifesto provisions, information and media policy position of the president is that the media must have unfettered freedom to publish what they so pleases. In an event that the breach of the law has occurred when the media is publishing what they are publishing, the due process of the law, rather than rule by a mob, must prevail. And therefore, the president has observed with great disappointment that actions in the name of the party are being undertaken to storm radio stations, harass journalists, and attempt to take the law in their hands. So those individuals, be they ordinary members of society, be they members of the PF, are not above the law. The president emphasizes that nothing must be committed in the name of his party, the PF, particularly actions that depart from the stated principle of pluralism, the stated principle of tolerance, and particularly the president's strong belief in the freedom of the media, freedom of the press, speaks to these values that the media institutions must have the freedom to publish, must have the freedom to collect news. There must be freedom before and after publication. So it is totally unacceptable. To that effect, apart from instructing the Secretary General of the party to again reinforce the message that the Patriotic Front is guided by a set of principles, policies and values on each and every subject. On the question of media freedom, the President says both government and the party are very, very clear where they stand. So he strongly disapproves of these regrettable actions that may have occurred in the name of the party and government. Those who commit those crimes are on their own. Further to that, the president is extremely puzzled as to why there is so much police inaction if these crimes are being committed and it has been established that the radio station was stormed, individuals are courted. And why is the police not acting on clear breaches of the law? Who is preventing police action, and why would the police not take charge of the situation? We do not want to appear to be issuing instructions from here on a daily basis, but police are expected to exercise good judgment and ensure that they act on any breaches, regardless of their origin. The second matter is a concerted attack on the country's currency, on the country's economy, clearly by elements that have been paid to peddle lies about the state of the economy. Whilst the president acknowledges the general difficulties of the times, and the government, he stresses that government is taking steps to address certain issues, but he finds the State House finds it extremely unfortunate that publications such as Africa Confidential and Bloomberg have dedicated the past week peddling lies about the economy, undermining the country in the eyes of the financial market by insisting on non-existent default. The government is not in default of any loans whatsoever. It's meeting its foreign service obligations, it's meeting its domestic obligation. Of course, it has to be acknowledged that with the attendant difficulties which you may have seen in delayed salaries in some of the months. But I can tell you that, and civil servants can confirm, that steps are being undertaken, which is why in the month of March and April, actually salaries in some cases were paid 1 week ahead of time. So we find the latest publications, one by Bloomberg, making a very, very preposterous, extreme preposterous allegation that drawing a parallel between Zambia and Venezuela. For a lack of a better term, that makes Bloomberg unrecognizable to us. This is a respected wire service that cannot descend into quoting fictitious analysts and putting them across. For Africa Confidential, our views are very known. It's no longer a publication that it was. It's a formerly respected tabloid that has willingly transformed itself into a scandal sheet, and that is very regrettable. That we understand is a mission, but what we find extremely puzzling is the agenda we have seen in the past 2 weeks, where Bloomberg will pitch their story on fictitious analysts hinting at the default. The Minister of Finance will continuously update the nation. She's so transparent. The debt servicing mechanism is very transparent. She tells the nation where we are. All of you who have any doubts, you can get in touch with the Treasury and you'll get the updated information. There is no default. The commitment to meeting the obligation is there. The difficulties the economy is encountering are being undertaken. The Minister of Finance regularly briefs the President, and the President has full confidence in the Treasury team and the monetary team at the Bank of Zambia that they are intervening correctly to address the problems that may be attending the economy. But all this is put together in a calculated attempt to injure the country in the eyes of international markets, because markets react in the same way banks operate. If you continuously tell lies about a bank running out of the money, eventually they will be run on the bank. And then you say, I was telling you. So Zambia is in the financial market. It has borrowed money. If you begin to hint on the default, you're actually trying to incite the markets to be nervous about the Zambian economy. And therefore, ultimately, you hope to achieve, what you hope to achieve is to strangulate the economy by stopping foreign direct investment. Fortunately, the Minister of Finance and the Treasury team are competently dealing with the difficulties that are in the economy. Those are the two issues I wanted to address. The clear statement that the President is disappointed, State House is disappointed that there is police inaction when criminal acts, suspected criminal acts are committed against radio stations, whether they are private or public, that none of that must be committed in the name of the party, that the Secretary General must again appeal to the rank and file of the party. That is an instruction from the President, who is a party president. I know that some people in Twitter will be asking, why are you talking about the party? The Secretary General of the party answers to the President. The instruction I have is to communicate to the Secretary General of the party that he must use the civil procedure, civil means, to inform his party members to desist from that. Then two, for the police, it is a surprise that there seem to be no action, and therefore a picture is painted like these actions are sanctioned. Senseless acts are sanctioned by the party at its highest, either at the Secretariat or in the Presidency, because the President is a party president. There is absolutely no tolerance whatsoever for any form of violence against the media. So I thought I could use this extremely important day in the current of the media to emphasize to you and clearly to communicate this message to the country that the President does not tolerate that, whether it's coming from the PF cadres or from any ordinary individuals. I can take questions. Yes, sir.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
My name is Stephen Bola from the Zambia Daily Mail. I have two questions basically. One, dealing with the financial markets. You've alluded to the fact that there is a attempt to injure the Zambian financial market. Do you you have an idea who is paying, who's paying out, for these, like Bloomberg and Africa Confidential that you've mentioned, or to peddle these lies? Who do you think is paying these people?
We only go as far as saying we have addressed our issues with, we brought these issues to the attention of editors of Bloomberg, because we still have confidence that that is a respected outfit. We are no longer engaging with Africa Confidential. Suffice to say, when their lies exceed a certain level, we'll tell the nation we don't want a ping pong with a publication whose agenda is well known. But just to raise caution on Bloomberg that they mustn't fall prey to the very cheap, malicious media propaganda that is being put there. Again, because there is a government and to run affairs of state cannot be reduced to debating as to whoever is doing it, government is aware and is doing something about it. They suffice to say that they are not reflective of the true picture, because you cannot go and hint that the government will this year default without saying the reasons why it will default. When there's been no record whatsoever of a default, this country has not defaulted on its obligation. Even when Dr. Kaunda printed minimum coupon, the country still did not default on its obligation. It would be naive of anyone to deny the general difficulty of the times. But that is not to say there has been a default, because if you owe me, if I owe 10 people, you can only say of a default if among those 10 one has told you that you owe me 2 kwacha and I failed to pay. Who is this person? Who is this international end that government has defaulted on? So please stay engaged with the Treasury. They will tell you the updated information. I wanted to seize this opportunity because I'm talking to you on media issues to alert you on this existing agenda, so that you are also conscious not to pick the malicious information that is being channeled through online, and also because Reuters, Bloomberg and other networks are respected agencies, I needed to raise alarm that even if it appears on Bloomberg, verify it with the minister, because I've seen an outrageous article drawing a parallel between Venezuela and Zambia. I mean, it's quite outrageous that such a comparison can be made and published in a respected newswire service such as Bloomberg. If that is done, clearly, even if you didn't go to economic school, you know that somebody is talking nonsense when they compare a country that is in millions percentages in inflation, and the country whose inflation rate is around, where are we, 7, 8, below 8%. That is the inflation rate of this country. I think Venezuela is in millions percentage in terms of, how can there be a parallel? How can there be even an imagination, even in your dreams, between these two countries? Now, the media informatics, the media of today, the political economy of the media now, is that the interconnectivity of the markets and the interconnectivity of the economies is such that if you Google Venezuela and Zambia, you Google them together. So this is exactly why a reckless, irresponsible article like that would be done, where you mention Zambia, the next you mention Venezuela. Because of this interconnectivity, again, bad luck for our friends in those newsrooms. We know about it, so we'll continue to. It's not my intention whatsoever to attack any media. I'm only responding to the absurdity that I've seen. It's absurd in the extreme that they can be that comparison. The main theme here was actually to tell you about press freedom, but I couldn't leave that one because after that they've published 3 others, so we could tell the trend. So we are merely responding and saving notice that, hey guys, we can see what is happening, and also to prevent you from picking stuff from those channels. Yes, the second one.
Yes, the second one. I don't know whether can allow me the follow-up question on the action being taken on the same subject that you're talking about, especially on Bloomberg.
Yes, we've spoken to them. We are confident that the editors will address those problems too. The Minister of Finance and the team are under instruction to put out as much information as possible that reflects the true position She had a fantastic morning with the Commissioner General of Zambia Revenue Authorities articulating issues around sales tax. So this is the kind of public information that we need. Our first line of defense is to communicate, tell the side of the story. But we will never ever lie about Bloomberg. We will never lie about BBC. We will never lie about another country. If we owe 10 billion, the minister will tell you we owe 10 billion. If we've defaulted, we'll tell you there is this default. But you can't talk about a default that does not occur. Yeah.
Yes, it's to do with the violence or purported violence that happened at the two radio stations where the Patriotic Front has been implicated. Do you, of course, as the presidential spokesperson, do you in any manner think that this could have been a calculated move by some sections of the political?
Which is why the best way to prevent superstition and witchcraft mentality is simply to have the police arrest whoever is causing that. And if those people are PF, it will be known. If those people are UPND, it will be known. If they are NDF, they are NDC. Yeah. Which is why the silence of the police is puzzling. Is it to aid this perception? So, for us, the cure to this problem is simply to expect that the police will take correct and decisive action, that they will use correct judgment to prevent crime. They need to question people. Yes.
My name is Tashimungo from Radio Phoenix. The Ministry of Information has indicated that it has requested the President to respond to requests by some members of the public to have comrades in the release. I'd like to find out if that request has been received and if it is receiving any attention.
Matters to do with the judicial and the executive are very delicate. The President maintains a clear line of separation between the executive and the judicial. When a person is convicted, it's a matter for the judiciary. And when that conviction has been done, that person is handed over to the executive, because the executive, it's within the function of the executive to manage prisons, hospitals, schools. In this matter, the action began in the judiciary. The conviction occurred within the judiciary. There are some actions that begin with the executive, which is the police, which is a wing within the executive arm of a state. But this one was an action begun by the judiciary themselves. And the conviction occurred within the judiciary. So the President will be very, very careful not to do anything that appears to be an interference within actions of the judiciary. However, once a person has been convicted, the Constitution bestows that responsibility, that power in the President to exercise his powers for prerogative of mercy. But before the President exercises that matter, his mind on that, it is highly, it would be ill-advised for the Presidents to debate the process of a pardon at any point before it occurs. So as a result of that, we are constrained to make any comment whatsoever, because a pardon is a process within the judiciary, a prerogative within the executive, prerogative of mercy. A committee sits, certain recommendations are made. So to comment on the process would be very preemptive, because these are delicate matters. The presidential pardons are only announced when they have occurred. That's how far I can go on that matter. Yes.
My name is Katushi Vada from Zambia. So taking back to the issue of debt servicing.
Yeah.
You did mention that the country is on course, but are you able to go into details and probably tell the nation where are we? Because what is out there is that the debt servicing of this debt is actually hindering the kwacha, and this is putting so much strain on the economy of the nation. And there's also the perception that probably China financing most of our road network has stayed away, and this has put, a bad idea on whether the massive road construction that we've seen will continue. A good example is the Ndola Lusaka Joe currently?
All I can say is because we are a very orderly administration, we want matters to do with finance to be handled properly by finance so that there is one speaking point on these matters. But the broad themes I understand and I can comment on without putting pressure on any department within the government. I can state with certainty that the government is on course towards meeting debt servicing obligation, and it has not defaulted. And the Minister of Finance has assured the President that the debt servicing obligations exerting pressure on social service spending, she remains very committed and very firm towards staying the course that our foreign and domestic debt obligations are met. So this far, there is no default. She does not foresee a default whatsoever. So this narrative, yes, if you're not paying debt, there will be more money in education, there will be more money in schools, there will be more money in hospitals and other social services. But if you say we stop debt servicing so that we put more money in schools, then that default will occur. And then there will be no enough money going forward to invest in there. So she's striking a delicate balance. She's trying to raise more revenues. She's devising more mechanism to have more revenue so that when you spend on debt servicing, there's enough remaining on other obligations. So I cannot go into the nitty-gritty. Suffice to say that the briefing from PS Economic Affairs, Mr. Mukori, he told me we are on course. There's no default. We have not defaulted. So that position is very clear. The President has given guidelines on how projects will be executed. Priority is on those that are 80% and above. When those are completed, then another tranche is given. So all the projects that they were embarked on will be completed, but they will not be completed at the same time because there isn't enough money to go around. But progressively, all the projects will be completed. And very prudent steps have been taken by the government not to engage in any loan contraction that is not concessional. Any loan contraction that government will engage in will be concessional loans. And for the significant part of the last 18 months, there's been a significant slowdown in loan contraction. That also is one of the broad themes that I can tell you. As to the nitty-gritty, please engage the Treasury regularly. They are available. The PSAs are available. The Minister is available. The information gentleman, Mr. Chanda, is available. They will provide you with this information so that you are regularly updated, and therefore you forestall falsehoods, rumor, and they're just deliberate malicious projections that are being made in some tabloids abroad and locally. If there is nothing more, I would want to thank you most sincerely for responding at very short notice. Thank you.